Great. Welcome, everybody. It is 2:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the 2024 Open Texas Conference. The Open Texas Conference is sponsored and convened by two cooperating organizations, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, the state agency that serves as a resource partner and advocate for Texas higher education in Texas, and the Texas Digital Library, a library consortium providing services that enable free and open access to scholarly, cultural heritage, and educational materials. My name is Victoria Brame, and I am a reference librarian at Lone Star College Sci-Fair, and I will serve as your moderator today. We welcome you to introduce yourself and ask questions in the chat. Please feel free to turn on your webcam, but mute your mic unless you are speaking. Also, be aware that we are recording the session today. Recorded sessions will be available within the conference attendee hub for 30 days. Following the 30 days, the recordings will be accessible through the Open Texas YouTube repository. And I just dropped the link for that in the chat. I will also place a link to the conference code of conduct, in the chat for your information. And let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen if my presenters want to take over. And this session is entitled Adapting to Innovation, Strategy and Capacity Building for AI and Beyond.
All
and
right.
I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Victoria. We appreciate it. And it is absolutely wonderful to see so many familiar faces in the group, people that we have had the pleasure of working alongside throughout our journey for OER. And now that we jump into this new time and this new disruption in higher education that is artificial intelligence and this idea of being prepared for what may come next. So we're glad that you joined us this afternoon so that we could explore a little bit about how we prepare ourselves for this next phase of higher education. I am joined today by our Director of Digital Learning, Dr. Aleyda Cantu-Lee, and I am Michelle Singh, and I proudly serve as the Assistant Commissioner for the division at the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. So usually we like to start our presentations by telling you a little bit about the Division of Digital Learning. And so the division was established back in November 2020 with a mission to provide leadership and advocacy for digital learning in higher education and promote, sustain, and advance a quality digital learner experience that positions Texas as a world leader and results in globally competitive, digitally proficient citizens. We are really focusing on several different areas of digital learning, but have made it a point for advocacy, capacity building, and recognition of digital excellence to be the goals that drive us for the last few years. And we're very fortunate to have an absolutely phenomenal team that dedicates their heart, their passion, their intellect to making sure that we can serve you as the stakeholders of Texas as we together build the digital learning ecosystem for this new frontier. So the team is made up of our Senior Director, Dr. Carla Torre, our Directors, Dr. Cantu-Lee, Carrie Gitz, Dr. Gwendolyn Morell, our Program Directors, Dr. Marianne Maddox and Dr. Elizabeth Tolman, our Portfolio Manager, Guy Fajazan, and our Administrative Assistant, Amy Zandy. So we together have the responsibility to make sure that we can create services, programs, and resources that will bring benefit to you as our digital learning community. So for this presentation, I decided if we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, we probably need to figure out what are we going to talk about, right? And so what do you do in an AI presentation? Well, you ask AI, and AI gave this absolutely amazing response that said engaging tools and broke this down into so many different categories. It was a phenomenal presentation. But that's not the presentation that we're going to go with. So we're going to go with this agenda that you see on this screen. We're going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, talk about adapting to innovation, which is this new foundational concept that we have as we talk about these different places in higher education where we're at. We're going to introduce an institutional agility framework and actually talk about an application for that framework. And hopefully it will bring some benefit to you as you approach this conversation at your institutions. We'll round out with Q&A, but you can post questions in the chat or using the, I don't know if we have a QA feature, but if not, the chat, it can be where you're at. If we do not get a chance to answer those questions during the live presentation, we will definitely get back to you post the conversation itself. All right, so let's go ahead and start with a very critical question for everybody that is present. Number one, when it comes to AI, which panda or pandas are you? Please feel free to post that in the chat. I want to see the numbers going. Here we go. See, we have a couple of fours, threes, right? So the different emotions of panda, right? You're either happy, you're running scared, you're doing everything that you can and diving into every resource you possibly can think of to learn about this stuff. Or you're number four that's just playing it cool, kind of watching what happens and then going to start to acclimate a little bit. Or you're number five where you're excited, you're happy, you're excited, you're happy, you're scared. There's so many different emotions going on. Oh, good. So there's a whole we're everywhere. We're everywhere on this. I like that. I like it. That's great. I haven't seen any 21s in the group. Normally we have 21s, which is basically every emotion added together. I think I live at a 21 anytime I engage with AI. But the reason that we start off with this emotional component is because it's critically important to think about this human part of the work that we do with artificial intelligence. And humans have emotions. And so it's really easy for us to get so caught up in the day-to-day working with technology. We need to remember that all of these pieces you are going to feel at one point in time when you are interacting with this new technology. And so let's talk about what this new area is, artificial intelligence. We are inundated with artificial intelligence day in and day out. For this presentation in particular, we're not going to talk about the larger artificial intelligence. We're really going to focus on Gen AI. And by this time, I'm sure several of you have already been acclimated to the generative AI idea. Take the generative part of this, and what that really means is something that provides new content. It gives you, whether it be text, video, photos, code, data, anything like that, but something is produced by artificial intelligence when we refer to Gen AI. And AI and Gen AI are not new. They are not new concepts to the world of computing, to the world in general, but the way that we are seeing them rise up is overwhelming. So AI has been around for a very long time. Today, it's infiltrating the news. It is everywhere in different sectors. You can't go on LinkedIn without seeing all of these different new techniques that are coming out, research, conversations, articles, blogs. I've seen so many podcasts, those are just arising everywhere. So we see this all the time. And it's not just an influx of different types of news, it's actually an influx of innovation. There are so many different tools, from OpenAI to Gemini. And of course, OpenAI and ChatGPT is the one that really got out of the gate first. So if you think about the pandemic, when we were talking about web conferencing, Zoom was the one that got out of the gate first. So automatically, when people are talking about web conferencing, they say Zoom. And it's really funny when people do yes, let's go ahead and Zoom. I'll send you the Teams link. That's kind of what's happening with OpenAI, ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a type of AI. So then there's Gemini, which is actually the Google product. There is Copilot, which is Microsoft. There's Claude, which is Anthropic. There's Llama, which is Meta, and so forth and so on. And there's just so many things. And it's not just about these larger scale LLMs or AI pieces, but it's also the smaller derivatives that come from it. The list continues. There's there's very project specific AIs that are being developed. So there's a task and there's AI that people develop specifically to address that one particular task. So one of the things we do have to be cautious about when we're in this environment is almost this over influx of technology innovation, where we have to remind ourselves a lot of the stuff we're building, which is commendable, it is absolutely wonderful, is designed for one set of students. And that has to be something we keep in mind, because the student has to engage at so many different levels with so many of these innovations. So as we get creative, let's always make sure that we keep the student in the center conversation. But let's talk a little bit about AI across the globe and what's really trending in this space of artificial intelligence across the globe. So what we're really starting to see are these demanded skill sets that people are wanting, whether it be the Global Skills Report that Coursera puts out, Gartner's report on the future of education, the EDUCAUSE Horizon report, you name it. The things that we're seeing are the need for AI literacy, AI fluency, ethics, the peripheral pieces that go along with AI, including cybersecurity, data privacy, risk assessment, digital accessibility. But the core fundamental digital skills are still the things that are required for students, for individuals, for professionals to be successful when they're engaging with AI. We've also seen a couple of new skills emerge, like digital collaboration. How do you collaborate with other people within the new digital environments? How do you connect with people and also human AI interaction? There's one thing to build, there's one thing to develop, but there's another thing to find utility in the development that exists. And so I want us to keep these pieces in mind because while the future is being predicted that all of these are going to be essential skills that are needed for success, we also have to think about what do we need to do now to provide these skills to our students so that they can also adapt to the new frontier of higher education. And so we need to start transitioning the mindset that we have from this being just simply another technology to actually being a fundamental shift in business strategy. And the deputy CEO at Deloitte, I think, said it absolutely beautifully well, where we really need to start seeing this as an integral part of the overall mission and strategic direction for our institutions. And so it's going to be a conversation that we need to have at all different levels within an institution across the state, across different sectors. And so, as leaders, faculty, and instructional support partners in this journey with in higher education, we're expected to be AI aware. We're also expected to be AI literate, but also proficient. We're expected to excel in things that we may or may not fully understand, but we're charged with teaching others to be proficient when they leave our institutions. We're also charged with being leaders and providing guidance for strategy and policy and operational development when we ourselves are trying to figure out how do you navigate this current environment. So all in all, we are expected to be superheroes, right? We're expecting faculty to be superheroes, conquer these new frontiers with confidence and with poise and really set the path for success for the state, but are we equipping you with the skills that you need? And these feelings that you're feeling right now, probably as leaders, supporters, administrators, faculty, it may be resonating with you thinking, I think I've been here before. Why does this feel familiar? Why does this expectation feel familiar? And the reason it feels familiar is I'm from Texas, born and raised in Texas. We are have I'm on the coast, so we have to deal with hurricanes, different types of storms. A winter storm in Texas nearly debilitated all of us from being able to function and engage. We're in Texas. We weren't used to winter. Neither was our, infrastructure. So it was difficult for us to be able to engage in education when there were all these things that were forbidding those connections. And then the pandemic that really changed the way that our environments are. In all of these pieces, digital learning was the answer. But in all of these pieces, that same feeling of expectation that we needed to be 100% proficient in an environment that we were just trying to discover were very real. And we're very heavy on the shoulders of those that were charged for continuing to educate our students as we moved into just unknown territory in general. So, what happened in all of this? What did we learn from all of these different pieces and events that we survived? Well, we started to share. We started to learn how to collaborate with each other. We started to really have conversations and reach out. Yes, a lot of it was for survival, but we started collaborating. We started calling up people we had never met before and said, "I saw a resource, your resource online. Could I adapt it? Could I use it?" And so we realized there was such power in community. There was such power in the community of open. We realized that open education and the open agenda was at the fundamental undertaking of all of this. It was the underpinning thing that was happening organically for us to move education, for us to move forward together. So while we have had those experiences, now we need to remind ourselves we have been here before and lean into that skill set because open education and open pedagogy and open share, all of these pieces are going to be crucial to the environment we need to create that fosters this institutional agility or this need for agility and ability to adapt quickly. So again, to remind you that we've been here before, there were always these polarized opinions on new innovations and technology. There was this idea that calculators were going to completely replace mathematics. Nobody would be able to add anymore. Online gaming wasn't actually going to be a thing. Nobody wanted to play against a computer. It would diminish the interest in gaming. If any of you have teenagers at home, if any of you have teenage husbands or teenage wives that still play video games at home, you understand that is a big market. Online courses, oh no, students could never learn online. Academic integrity would be completely compromised. That would never happen. Our institutions and their successful graduates, I'm sure, would disagree. And then open educational resources, there would never be quality in a free resource. Pretty sure we're all gathered here today because that is not a factual statement. And so I want us again to lean into we have faced these challenges before. This magnitude of a change is going to be a lot more disruptive on multiple levels, but be confident in the fact that you understand this and don't lose the fear, but use the fear. Use that same feeling in your gut that tells you, let me be a little cautious. Approach with caution, but approach with strategy as well. And remember that human intelligence is actually what created artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence augments human intelligence. So I tell you this so that we together can change the narrative. We need to change the narrative from looking at this new technology and this new emerging trend from a barrier to an opportunity, from a singular technology that is isolated from the rest of university college operations to it being a strategy and a utility. We need to move from reacting to adapting because when we react, we may not be as thorough in strategy or rooted in strategy to be able to adapt successfully. And so that premise and that mindset is what we encourage you to get into as you start to touch on these different points of artificial intelligence and how it's going to impact you. So we know what artificial intelligence is. We know why it's important. We know why Gen AI is going to change the way that we do business and the way that we work. And we've heard that from so many presentations, from so many different engagements that you've been part of. And there's now webinars everywhere. There's so many different things that are competing for attention. We thank you for choosing this event to join us today. Now I think we're all ready to move into the conversation of let's focus on the how. How do we do this? How do we train ourselves to be agile, to be able to pivot quickly for the next big change in higher ed? Well, what we really need to start doing is we need to stop focusing solely on AI and really start to focus on AI. And so at this point, some of you are very confused because those are the exact same letters, but we need to start focusing on the AI that means adapting to innovation. We need to start focusing on how we empower ourselves, how we empower our institutions to build the operational frameworks, the governance structures, the practices, and the pedagogy to be able to lean into what is coming next without an immense amount of debilitating fear, with strategy, with vision, with hope, and with positive optimism, to really be able to take this as an opportunity to redefine the way that we approach education. And we're going to go ahead and walk you through this concept of adapting to innovation and to have a deep dive into what that means and how it's applicable and introduce some examples. I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Cantu-Lee, who will take you through a more in-detail approach to this concept. Dr. Cantu-Lee?
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Thank you. Yes, I think with all that we've heard and the impact that we know that this it would cause or this is going to help cause, really looking at this with a fine-tooth comb, if you will, is going to be extremely helpful and beneficial for everyone. So I want to start with just introducing this idea of adapting to innovation as our initiative, the initiative for the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, specifically the Division of Digital Learning. The overall initiative is intended, or we created it to provide resources, programs, services to Texas institutions like the ones that you're a part of, and especially to connect the Texas community of educators that we have right now who are interested in moving these needles and making these big moves towards looking at innovative strategies in teaching and learning. And so we look at our initiative, and it is built on three key pillars: engage, evolve, elevate. But these are all rooted in this foundation of institutional agility, of thinking about being agile as we progress towards this next frontier, if you will, of education innovation. And so when we talk about institutional agility, we are, what our definition is, or what we mean is, by fostering institutional agility and collaborative intelligence, we seek to position Texas at the forefront of educational innovation, ready to harness transformative technologies that will shape teaching, learning, and business operations. Nothing big, right? No pressure. That's easy, right? And so, all jokes aside, we know that this is not easy. And so what we did, or what we are working on implementing every day for you, is this idea of an of a framework for institutional agility. What we've been working on and using this idea that has been amplified by the work of Chan and the WCET work that has been done on a national level. We've been using this to help introduce ideas and help set the stage of the strategy and not fear idea that Dr. Singh was talking about earlier. And so if you can see, this kind of simplifies the idea of what you should be doing or what you should be focusing on when we're thinking through taking these next steps or making these moves towards innovation in your instruction. And so we look at 3 different pockets of things here. We focus on governance, practice and pedagogy, and operations. But at the core of this, it's really important to note that it's our students, our stakeholders, our staff, including our faculty and our administrators, the communities that we know we need to give a voice to. That is the core of everything that we do here. And then all of this is rounded in our landscape analysis, understanding what our landscape is, what we're working for, what we're working towards, what's out there already, and of course, change management. We are in this constant state of change, and this change management idea just makes sure that we are keeping people at the core of these changes. So let's talk a little bit more about approaching change as the first kind of pinpoint of this framework. And so the first step, as always, is to assess your landscape, looking at overall what is out there. Are you ready? Is your institution ready to take on a task or a change like the one you're thinking of, or like the one that you want to implement? And so looking at things that are already out there, possibilities of not needing to reinvent the wheel. We always want to work smarter, not harder, right? Leveraging the resources that are already out there, like our OER resources that we have in our OER Texas site, but also really focusing on the W's. And so when I say the W's, the who, the what, the when, the why, what is out there again? What can we take advantage of? I think that is the most important part of assessing the landscape, is just getting those big resources that you can instantly use and take with you and make big moves that way. And then on the individual side, we really need to start thinking about, am I ready? Am I ready to take this on? To what degree am I ready to take this on? So when you assess the landscape in that way, it's really looking at your own bandwidth, what you're ready to take on at this time. When we talk about governance, we need to start talking about things in a larger strategic direction, if you will. So we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but how we need to think of things as being part of a business strategy, not isolated to academic or instruction only, but more of a broader conversation. We need to have those really tough conversations about policies, about processes, the ones that take a lot of manpower and a lot of time to really think through and make perfect. But those are the important conversations that we need to have when we're looking at governance. Kind of thinking through with agility as the foundation of these processes, and making sure that we're approaching everything in that way with agility at the forefront. As individuals, we need to think about, well, am I willing to do this? Am I willing to take this on? I might be ready and I might have all the resources that I need, but am I willing to do it at this point? So moving on to operational. When we look at operational, we're thinking mainly about infrastructure, support, funding. Most of us don't have the luxury of just having a bucket of money sitting next to us for that next innovation or that next tool that we want to implement. And so thinking through how we can maximize the support and the resources that we already have to be able to move innovation forward, whether it is just in your classroom, at your institution, in your department, just looking at that operational aspect in that perspective. As an individual, look at the resources that you have available, the support systems that you have to be able to advance your learning on the specific innovation, to maybe think of other options when funding may not be available. Who do you have at your disposal to be able to think through these things, to be able to brainstorm and get toward a little bit closer towards your goal without having to say, well, there's no money, I can't do it. Then at the last line here is practice and pedagogy. To think about here is, to what degree is an institution actually able to change? So we don't have the option anymore right now to take a year, 2 years to figure out how to respond to new technologies, to new innovations that want to get implemented. We need to be able to be more agile in how we move when we're thinking through what are we going to do next? What's the next answer? And so understanding to what degree your institution is ready for that is really going to be helpful and impactful when you're looking to make those moves or make those decisions to adapt an innovation or an idea at your institution. As an individual, you just need to know, where do you begin? Where do you start and how do you get there? So it boils down to the 4 Ps. Possibilities, what can you do? Potential, what do you want to do? Priorities, what should you do? And plan, what will you do? So we're approaching adapting innovation the same way we did with our OER work, from research to action. For us at the coordinating board, and specifically our division of digital learning, we are learning from our history, from our successes that we've already had, and we're learning, more importantly, from each other, from our skill set on our team, but also the connections that we have across the state of Texas, being able to again use those resources and use that knowledge base to help advance the initiatives and the thoughts that we have within our department. So when we started this conversation of how do we approach AI development, how do we approach this big idea of adapting innovation in our community in Texas, we heavily relied on the OER journey that we had already been on, that we were already successful in. So we really leaned on that OER journey to guide our AI journey. So with the OER group, what we did was we started with our landscape research. We formed a digital community. We had OER resources, professional learning, community events, field research, grants, continuous feedback. All of these things helped guide us in knowing and understanding what we needed to do to be successful as we started on this AI journey moving forward. And we also we realized quickly that in order to engage in conversations that were being had outside of our division, outside of the work that we were already doing, we needed to make this AI idea, or the functions of AI, part of our everyday work, part of our divisional journey. And so we really started to streamline our routine tasks, to support our creative processes, enhance our digital products with using AI, really honing in on what can this do to help us to make our work more efficient, to really give us those practical examples that we can use when we are talking to you today, when we are proposing some new initiatives, some projects, things like that. And so that was really helpful in helping to understand what the need was, how to fill gaps, how to meet that want from everybody that was talking to us on the institutional side. It really helped so that we could work better with those that we serve, pretty much. All right. So with that, as we were saying earlier, I think it's really important to exemplify all of this that we're saying. So we just introduced to you the institutional agility framework, but now let's see that framework in action. So that way you could have some great examples on how to actually apply these ideas and use them moving forward. So the first thing we're going to kind of look at, the first thing, of course, that we mentioned already that you should always do is assess your landscape. And so in April 2023, we conducted a landscape analysis of AI activities across Texas institutions. With a 56% response rate from 70 institutions, this included 2-year institutions, 4-year institutions, and health-related institutions. We gained really valuable insight into the current state of AI adoption and readiness in Texas. So the survey revealed to us that 80% of institutions either have AI policies already in place or are developing them. So these policies primarily focused on teaching and learning with guidelines on AI use in courses being the most common one in the bunch. There is a strong emphasis on the ethical and responsible use of AI, so including considerations for academic integrity. So we thought that was really important to note there. Qualitative insights showed that priorities centered on campus community engagement, small-scale implementations versus systematic adoptions, and ethical responsible use were really important and were a focus of most of the open-ended responses that were provided to us in that survey. So you can see here a little bit of the survey findings where the policy development is there, and then in practice and in development, what was happening through those responses. So we really gathered great information on what we needed to do moving forward, what we needed to offer to be able to give institutions and faculty members, students, staff, the resources that they needed to feel comfortable and to be successful when they're navigating these new, again, for lack of a better word, frontiers of AI and adapting to innovation. Institutions also express a strong desire for cross-state collaboration. So with 83% opened to sharing resources, the THECB responded by creating the Adapting Innovation Portfolio, and which we'll go through here in a little bit in a couple of slides. But this really helped us validate that the work that we're already doing or planning to do was needed, was important, was going to be impactful. So these numbers really kind of put that nail in it. All right. The next component of the institutional agility framework we're going to kind of talk through is governance. And so governance-wise for the division, we have the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board Learning Technology Advisory Committee. So LTAC is made up of representatives from across the state that have different types of levels of universities, community colleges, different types of regions are being represented on the LTAC. But more importantly, with the LTAC, we created a subcommittee with LTAC members as well as experts in the state of Texas to focus on this idea of adapting to innovation and moving it forward to build out an adapting to innovation framework, a pulse landscape of artificial intelligence in Texas, a centralized digital presence for AI, and an AI community, all of which we found were needed and wanted through our research. We also realized very quickly, actually, that we could not do this alone. And so we relied heavily on the amazing partners that we have, like the Texas Higher Education Foundation, which is our nonprofit partner of the THECB, our Texas legislation, which has formed the Artificial Intelligence Advisory Council. And we also looked to the Texas Department of Information Resources, who brought a group together of agencies that are talking about how they employ this idea of AI, because there's a synergy in what we are all feeling right now across different types of agencies, different types of institutions. So we have other partners like the WCET, Google, OpenStax, SHIOS, Coursera. All of these partners have really helped us in making the moves that we need to make to be able to do what we need to do to get you the resources that you need, especially in this time. We're all trying to navigate this together, and we are not about to invent any wheels on this journey. We don't have time for that, and we just need to get moving. I'm sure everybody agrees with me on that one. But we're going to capitalize on the work that everyone has already done and is still doing. But more importantly, we want to make sure that we leverage the expertise that is out there and the think tank that is Texas to move us forward. Now we're going to look at the operational component of our framework. So when we're thinking operational, we talked about this again under our change management conversation, but we're looking at infrastructures, the infrastructures that are already in place to help you move forward. What are those? So we have created, and we are very excited about this, the Digital Learning Texas website. And so this is our landing page, our centralized location for all things digital learning at the coordinating board. So again, we are very proud of this site, mostly because it came from the research that we originally did during the pandemic with our faculty, our staff, our students, our administrators. This encompasses the voice of everybody that was affected or being affected by this change that nobody was expecting. So all of the feedback that we got during that time was, we need to be a community. We need to help each other. We need to move forward together. We need to approach whatever is coming as one. We are now having that same conversation. And so we really want to amplify DL Texas so that it becomes the go-to resource for our digital learning community. Along with that, we use OER Texas as our digital repository for all things OER. We currently have over 500,000 users across the globe, 13,000 added resources, 4,000 authored resources via open author. Very, very big on OER Texas. We are very excited that it has this many users, that it has been a really successful tool and resource for us and for us to offer, if you will. You are the expert on a lot of the things that we know and that we want to provide information on or resources on. So we really encourage you to take advantage of this, to consider contributing to the different pieces of work that are being done, to share your work that you are doing across the state of Texas with others who may be doing the same work that you're already doing, to create this sense of community, of help, of support, more importantly, for those that are going through the exact same experience and journey that you are. All right, last but definitely not least on the institutional agility framework is practice and pedagogy. So for practice and pedagogy, we listened to what everyone was saying, and we tried to figure out what was going to be the best way for us to get these resources out to the digital community. Those resources, like I said earlier, that were really going to be impactful, that were really going to support you in making these moves that you wanted to make when we're looking at innovations and adapting innovation, even AI. So we leveraged our resources and began to create. So with that, we created AI resources on OER Texas, as simple as that is. We developed a robust suite of resources. We currently have a group in OER Texas called the Artificial Intelligence and Adapting to Innovation Group, which is available already. If you go to OER Texas, you can search the group and become a member of that group. Our work also includes an AI hub, which will be launching in the spring 2025. That hub will include resources like Adapting to Innovation Playbook. The playbook, is modeled after our successful OER Texas playbook. That is going to provide some really practical guidance for you, case studies, ways to actually implement AI strategies across your institution, across your teaching, for your students, really focus on student engagement as well. So a lot of helpful information in that playbook, so that way you can have that guide that you need to when you're thinking about adapting to innovation with any innovative tool that you're going to be thinking about using. It doesn't have to only be AI, but this playbook will give you that foundational knowledge that you need to make those moves and make those changes. We are also curating collections for you that are going to be focused on research, on policies, procedures, guidelines that are out there already in the state of Texas. Again, not to reinvent the wheel. We want you to work smarter, not harder. So all of this is really to exemplify what others are doing, so that you have the support, you can make those innovative moves. As always, the big center of everything, the community. All right. We are also committed to elevating the capabilities and knowledge of our higher education community with centralized resources, services, and programs. And with that, we created professional learning opportunities to help offer continued learning and extended learning to those that were interested in doing so. And so number one here, we have our AI facilitated learning network. So this is a cohort-based engagement for educators created by institutions for institutions. So we have a project advisory group that helped create this initiative for us, that is comprised of Austin Community College, San Jacinto College, University of Texas at Austin, University of North Texas, and our digital content lead, Alamo College's district. And so we had our first cohort this past summer that had 175 participants. And right now in the fall, we are currently in session with 175 participants there as well. And so with that, also we have an AI Essentials course that opportunity that we're offering. So this is the Google AI Essentials course that you can get a certificate for. This is available for up to 500 faculty at no cost to the faculty. So if you are interested in that, let us know. And then we are in development with in an AI for higher education course. So this course is designed for educators, again, by educators, showcasing implemented practices when we are looking at AI. So this would come with a completion acknowledgement. It would be a free resource and have OER components. But this course is really going to show you how to adapt to innovation, if you will, holistically, how to use that in your teaching, how I can't stress this enough. It's really going to showcase the how, is how I can put it the best way. It's going to give you those practical examples, give you those really specific tips that you can take with you to make these moves and make them in a way where you know it's going to be focused on your student engagement, focused on ensuring that the experience that you're providing is a really good one. All right. The next big thing we created and we are actively in right now is our AI empowered webinar series. So this is a free virtual series of webinars open to anyone in Texas higher education, in the Texas higher education community that is interested in AI. Simple. These demonstrate successful strategies for leveraging AI effectively and responsibly. The sessions are designed to equip you as participants with insights to navigate this dynamic landscape that we're in of AI in higher education. So you can see the sessions that we've had on the screen here. Our next session will be October 9th, and then there'll be one other one on October 30th. And so you can find more of this information at our DL Texas site under events. You will also find the previous session recordings that you can watch and kind of catch up on if you're interested. Upcoming community events. So we like to prioritize community engagement. So with that, we will be hosting our Texas Digital Learning Week, second annual Texas Digital Learning Week this year on November 4th through the 8th. So this event will have a day that is focused on AI. We're calling it the AI Convening Day. That'll be on November 6th. So that is happening, again, completely free to you. Tend to save that date on your calendar so you don't miss it. We are also, again, hosting our Digital Learning Summit next year on February 12th through the 13th. Again, save the date on that one. We will be putting out more information here pretty soon for those events, so be on the lookout for any information there so that way you can get a start on saving those dates and looking at what you're going to join us for. We also have the THECB Higher Edge Conference coming up in December. Theme there is Today's Students, Tomorrow's Texas. So that is happening December 12th through the 13th. Again, also more information has been coming out on that. So just be on the lookout for that information. As again, mark your calendars, block it off. Be ready to join us to get these awesome resources from your Texas digital learning community. All right, so clearly there's a lot happening and there's a lot coming, but we really just want to highlight the fact that you are not alone in this. We are going to move forward together. The one thing that we always start with or talk about during sessions like this is this idea of what is the first thing you think of when we say digital learning or digital innovation? Sorry, let me read that right off. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say digital innovation? That sounded way better, didn't it? And so we think about that and we kind of put that out there. And these are the usual terms that we get. Online courses, academic continuity. We learned that during pandemic. Costly, AI, Gen AI, robots, future, time, quality, But what we want to do with this idea of adapting to innovation, this idea of institutional agility, is we want to move to the point to where digital learning is more synonymous with enrollment, with student success, with institutional agility, retention, recruitment, institutional advancement, operational credibility, research, and most importantly, completion and graduation, because that's really all we're here for, right? That graduation day. And so let's take this opportunity to reimagine how we educate, how we learn, how we drive change, how we innovate, how we lead. The future of education is unfolding now, and together we're shaping it with vision, expertise, unwavering commitment to digital excellence. By fostering institutional agility, Texas is not just shaping the future of education, we are defining it, paving the way for a new era of digital learning and student success. So with that, I am going to open the floor for questions, but also offer you this resource page. A lot of the information that I talked about, everything that I explained from the resources is included in this sheet for you. So if you want to scan that code, take that with you and use at just your disposal. And I am going to stop share. Well, I won't stop sharing my screen yet, so I can give you a chance to screenshot or to scan. But I do want to open it up to any questions. Let me open my chat. I have to say, Dr. Calatorre is also with us here today from the Division of Digital Learning. So, and we just wanted to quickly introduce her in the case that you see her there.
Hi, y'all. Dr. Singh and I are tag teaming today, so I'm here. I am here, and I am in the chat answering your questions. I
Oh,
will
great.
say a couple of things. One is that if you're interested in the Google AI Essentials opportunity, you should email us. Not just drop your email in the chat, but actually email us so that we can have a record and keep it all organized at digitallearning@highered.texas.gov, which is right there. And then let me find the link to the AI presentation resources, and I will drop that in too. If you just kind of want to stay in the loop about things that we are doing, including all of the AI work, you can join our news and events group on OER Texas, and we post announcements there. I feel like I came in late, so I'm sure I missed questions that were earlier in the chat, so feel free to jump in if something didn't get answered, or can we help?
Yes. Trying to search through too, but if you have a question that has not been addressed or that you really want to ask, feel free to come off mute and we will do our best to answer those.
Hi, I actually have a question.
Sure.
So there's a lot of concern, right, with AI in terms of copyright, in terms of ethics, in terms of, academic integrity. Is what I'm hearing, and please correct me if I'm wrong about this. It seems like we are embracing may not be the right word, but it seems like we are going towards that direction, that we are going to go down that path of basically accepting slash using slash AI. Is that the correct interpretation here, or am I or yeah?
Yeah, I think that when you say embrace it, I think you're right in that we know that AI cannot take over what we're doing or completely replace the work that's already being done, but we are trying to set the stage where everyone is comfortable using it as a tool, using it as a support system, as an addition to what you're already doing. As Dr. Singh mentioned earlier, that human part of the AI piece still needs to be really present and at the forefront of everything. So yeah, I know I see you came off mute, Dr. Torre.
Yeah, so I think so we're the coordinating board, right? So we're not telling you what to do as institutions, right? That's not our goal here. Our goal is we know from the research that we've done in Texas that institutions are already embracing this, right? And starting with teaching and learning. We know from national resources and reports and research and all sorts of things that AI skills, AI fluency are going to be needed in the workforce moving forward. And so students will need to have a familiarity with them in order to compete in the workforce, right? And we know that the pace of innovation, partially because of AI, is moving very quickly, and that institutions are going to need to be agile in order to keep up with that, right? And so our sort of role in this, as we see it, is to provide resources and support and services so that institutions can choose to embrace in the way that they see fit, in the way that makes sense to them. And then we also are trying to offer like sort of other the examples from other institutions of the way that they've done this and what they've seen as successes and lessons learned and that sort of thing. Like those sorts of things will be included in the AI Hub as well. So we're here to support adapting to innovation and AI, not to uh, tell you what you need to do with it.
Right. And my apologies if that came up, if that was the case. I've been struggling with what to do with AI. At the surface level, I have it banned outright because I fear the abuse of it. Just copy and paste and just basically outsourcing thinking and voicing. But I see it as a tool, especially for those who don't speak English that well, or those who are concerned that they aren't able to communicate as well as others. So I definitely see some benefit, but I am so nervous about this stuff. I appreciate your taking the time to answer the question. Thank you.
Sure. And I'll say, Dr. Julie Schell, who's at the University of Texas at Austin, she's done a really great presentation for our facilitated learning network, and I'm sure she's done it in other places. Well, I can try and find you a link, but basically just this idea of how we're all sort of at different places on the AI spectrum, right? Some of us are AI scared, skeptical, AI wizards, like we're all kind of all over the place, and that's okay, because we will have to do what feels comfortable and to us. We are here to support you as you walk into this journey and provide you with resources so that you can become whatever sort of place on that AI spectrum that you want to be. Christopher Nelson says in chat, Ari John Patterson's point, let's make sure there are spaces for those kinds of conversations. Can you speak a little bit more about what kinds of conversations you mean there?
Sure, and thanks, Kyla. I think John and I are worried to the same degree, but about different things. The first thing that springs to my mind is I think, patently obvious environmental impact of these GAI processing centers in terms of, water and energy and land, et cetera, et cetera. The more and the quicker we buy into it, the more we're contributing to that, and sort of postponing the question to tomorrow about what did we just screw up yesterday.
Yeah, and this is a question that comes up in every presentation that we do about AI stuff, right? And obviously, at least professionally speaking, this is not in our wheelhouse as the Higher Education Coordinating Board.
Right.
But I do know this is a conversation that is being had across the state. There's a AI council that's statewide. There was a Senate Higher Education Subcommittee meeting yesterday where there was Dr. Singh presented a little bit about the AI work, and it was a conversation about that there. So I think this is a concern that everybody understands.
Right, and that's one of a list I could go through, and I'll be the first to admit there's no getting this genie back in the bottle. But whenever we create, portals and resource centers and hubs for GI related conversations, it would be nice to somewhere on the main page feature. And if you're worried about this, we're talking about it here. If you're worried about this, here are some resources here. if you're worried about this, here's the next conference or meeting of the legislature about this here.
Set up those rabbit holes as much as we can.
Exactly.
I think we have about just 5 more minutes, right, in this session.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I think we have time for maybe one more question if anybody has anything or any thoughts that they want to voice. But you do have our contact information. If you would rather ask your questions that way, you can shoot us an email at digitallearning@highered.texas.gov, and we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate the point that I'm sure was made several times during this presentation, that our Division of Digital Learning, we really try to create our resources and services and programs and things based on research that we do with institutions and also based on user sort of design data. So we do want to hear from you about the things that you need or would make your lives better. So, feel free to reach out to the digital learning address or to us individually.
Can I make a point? This is Yuri Horner. I want to say I appreciate Kaylee's comment in the chat. She's a student, she says, and she talks about the professors who have tried to integrate some kind of AI experience for the students. I am one of those teachers who is trying to do the same in my English classes. It's very difficult navigating it, but it's going to be, everything is going to change in 5 years. I mean, some of those statistics were pretty harrowing. The Gartner groups, some of the points that they made. And so I really want students to be prepared for the future. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to use AI to do the same, to fulfill the same kind of learning objectives that we've done in the past by more traditional means. Perhaps faster. I mentioned in the chat earlier that chess, for example, it was said that, some things that we were afraid of, like calculators, would destroy math. No, they didn't. We were afraid chess engines would destroy chess. Instead, it's just made stronger players. So there is that potential, and I do look forward to at least trying to adapt and innovate to the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just say, this is not official sort of coordinating board messaging, but I've been thinking a lot recently about how open pedagogy can be an answer to a lot of the questions around academic integrity questions and things like that, and really sort of co-creation and working with students. Maybe not always feasible depending on the size of your class and things, but I think, just a thought to put out there at the Open Texas Conference. Yeah.
All right, we are just about at our time for this session. So thank you all so much for attending and for kind of going on this journey with us. We appreciate you being here and are happy to share any resources or any information with you. And a lot of you are asking for the notes or for the chat. I am not sure if we could share that or what the possibility of that is, but we can look into it for you. Yeah, thank you
We'll see what the
again.
conference platform does in the back end and what we can do.
Yes. You will have this recording available to you. I think, Victoria, are you going to go there, Victoria?
Yes,
Okay.
we will have the recording available. I had dropped the YouTube link at the beginning of the chat, and I can drop that once again. And then I did want to remind everybody that we do have the Keep On OER Talk in Texas and Beyond discussion board in your attendee hub, so you can continue the conversation there after today. And let me go ahead and drop the YouTube link where all the recordings are going to be published as well. That is going in the chat. And yes, thank you all so much for attending today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and thank you, Dr. Cantu-Lee. It was a great presentation.
Thank you for joining us, Dr. Torre.